Tonight's stories all start the same way, with something small that did not feel right. A knock that was too quiet. A voice outside the window. A question that made no sense. Pay close attention, because in every single one of these, someone almost missed the sign entirely. Let's get into it. I did not order pizza. This happened quite a while ago when I was home alone with just my dog. After all this time, I am still sure that what happened was really strange, and I have no idea what that man actually wanted. I was watching television one night at about 11 in the evening when I heard a car pull up outside and the engine shut off. I figured it was a neighbor, but my nosy dog wanted to have a look and went to the window. He had messed up the blinds a little when he went to look, so I got up to fix them. When I did, I noticed a car parked on the street across from my house and my neighbor's house. I could not really make out any details, but it looked like the driver was still sitting in the car. I did not think much of it. I got a drink and went back to watching television. Quite a while had passed. I would guess 15 to 20 minutes. Out of nowhere, I thought I heard a tapping at the door. Not a knock, much lighter and very quiet. My dog had sat up and was staring at the door. I paused the television. Then the same quiet tapping started on the window. I opened the blinds a little and saw a man standing there. I could not make out his face properly, and he immediately walked back to the door and started tapping at it again. This does not sound very frightening, and I am not sure why, but I suddenly had a really awful feeling. I felt absolutely terrified and had no idea why. The tapping at the door would not stop, but something in my head was saying, if I open this door, something really bad is going to happen. I went upstairs to open a window and ask what he wanted. It felt safer. He said in a really quiet voice that he was delivering pizza and told me how much it cost. I felt so stupid for being frightened and told him I had not ordered pizza. I guessed he was speaking quietly and knocking lightly so he would not disturb my neighbors. My dog had followed me upstairs and was growling and barking, which is not unusual for him. I was trying to shush him when the man downstairs told me he had the correct address, and I had better get downstairs right now and open the door to pay what I owed and collect my food before it got cold. I was really confused because I most definitely had not ordered any food. I began telling him that again when I noticed he did not have a pizza. He was not carrying anything at all. I told him again he had the wrong address and he got really angry. He kept telling me to open the door. He was going back and forth between being angry and trying to persuade me to come downstairs. I asked him where the pizza was. He said he had hold of it, but it was dark and he definitely did not have anything in his hands. My dog was really making a lot of noise at this point, and the man had turned into a broken record. Come downstairs, open the door, come downstairs and open the door. All the noise must have alerted my neighbor who opened his front door, and the man did not say a single word. He just practically ran across the street to the car I had heard pull up. He drove away, empty-handed. I have no idea what he wanted, but he certainly was not a delivery driver. And the fact that he drove directly to my house, as though he had planned to show up, that is what still unsettles me most. No pizza, no bag, nothing. He drove there on purpose. If that sent a chill through you, the next one is going to stop you cold, because someone was already standing outside this person's window, in the dark. And they were not alone. Okay, something terrifying happened last night, and I just need to tell someone. I was sitting in my recliner last night, which is by a window, when I heard a man's voice just outside whisper, in that loud, urgent sort of whisper, like someone scolding a child. Yo. He's still awake. I am a strong person, and I do have the means to protect myself, but in that vulnerable moment, I felt true fear. I froze for a few seconds, then got up and looked out the window. I saw nothing. My house is in a heavily wooded area, so they could have gotten to the forest before I reached the window. The blinds were closed, but not shut all the way. So yes, that happened. I am going to adopt a dog today from the animal shelter, because I need a friend to watch my back and give me that heads up the next time they come. It is rare that I feel every single hair on my body rise in terror. Last night I felt it. He's still awake, meaning they were waiting. Now from a man watching through a window, to 3 teenage girls who knocked on a stranger's door because they had nowhere else to turn. 3 young teens came to my door to escape. This happened about 15 minutes before I posted this, and it was one of the strangest encounters I have ever had. My family and I were sitting in our living room watching television after dinner. All of a sudden, there was an unexpected knock at the front door. I opened it and found 3 young teenage girls, sophomores in high school, that I did not know. They told me that some guys were following them and they needed to look like they knew someone. I immediately told them to come inside. They told me it was 3 younger boys, probably around 8th grade, who had been following them for about a mile since they left a gas station nearby. I went outside to see if I could spot the boys, and sure enough they were just down the street. When I stepped outside, one of them yelled, "Lacey? Is that you?" I did not answer but went inside and asked if any of the 3 girls was named Lacey. None of them were. My dad then went outside and told the boys to move along. They got mouthy and rude. Eventually they went up the street and out of sight. However, they came back down a few minutes later. I opened the door and yelled at them to leave, but they argued with me and refused to go anywhere. My dad went back outside, and a neighbor heard the yelling and came over to see what was happening. With the presence of 2 grown men, the boys finally left, not without giving us some attitude though. I then drove the 3 teens back to one of their houses so they could get home safely. Something was really off about those boys and the way they interacted with us. I do not know what they were looking to do, but something did not sit right with me at all. I'm just glad those 3 girls felt like my house was a safe place to go. They knocked on a stranger's door because they had no other option, and someone answered. Now, from 3 girls on foot to a 17-year-old girl with a dog, alone, in the woods at 11 at night, with a man who would not stop following her. Acting naive might have saved my life. A little backstory first. I grew up in a rough area and would rarely leave home after 7 or 8 in the evening because it was considered dangerous. Going into high school, I got a pit bull. He was a gentle giant who loved everyone. He had some protection training before he joined our family, but as he got older, he retired and came home with me. So back to the story. At this time, I was 17 years old, female, short, blonde, but very aware of my size. Having a big dog, I finally felt safe walking alone. And on that particular night, I had set out for a longer walk because my dog, let us call him Meatball, really needed to run off some energy. I took him to the woods near my home, and we walked along a gravel path that was partly lit. It was around 11 at night and quite dark outside. As we walked, I became aware that there really wasn't anyone else around. We walked for about 10 to 15 minutes before a man appeared behind us. We kept walking, and I noticed he was taking the same turns as me and Meatball. I sped up, feeling my heart pounding in my chest. Meatball, who normally spent his time sniffing at the end of the leash, was now completely focused and had moved in close to my leg. I kept turning at every opportunity I could, and the man followed, even though we were now essentially walking in circles. He kept getting closer and closer. I was now certain he was following us. I remembered something my father had once told me. Never let someone follow you from behind. That is when you are most vulnerable. If you can force your stalker to pass you, do it. I stopped. I grabbed onto Meatball's leash and leaned back into it, acting like I needed my entire body weight to hold him back. Now, I am aware that at that point in my life, I looked small and weak. But my father was a veteran, and I had learned to fight before most kids learn to ride a bike. Holding Meatball back was not actually a challenge for me, even though it looked like it was. I called out, trying to sound as young and naive as I possibly could. "Excuse me, my dog really does not like people, and I can barely hold him back when he lunges. If I step to the side, could you pass us so I have a chance at keeping hold of him?" As I said this, Meatball erupted, barking, growling, and snapping toward the man. The man stopped. He looked me up and down. He stared at Meatball, then he turned around and walked away without saying a single word. I called my parents immediately and asked them to meet me, because I realized he could easily be hiding anywhere on the walk back. My dad showed up just a few minutes later, baseball bat in hand. Nothing happened in the end, but after being followed at every turn for at least 35 minutes, I know how differently that night could have gone without Meatball and my dad close by. She made herself look weak on purpose, and it worked. Now from a dark gravel path to an online marketplace, because sometimes the danger is hiding in plain sight in a Facebook listing. He changed his mind when I said I was bringing someone. I am a 22-year-old female. While I was living at university by myself, I messaged a man who had a PlayStation 2 for sale on social media. It was a really good price and looked to be in great condition. I should have known it was too good to be true. I messaged him about it, and he said he would drop it off straight after work and that he was working on a building site near where I lived. All good, right? Except he kept insisting he would drop it right to my door, even though I repeatedly said I would meet him at a nearby car park. He said okay, fine, but he was not happy about it. A few hours later, I walked up to hang out with my friend Adam, who is a guy and the same age as me. I mentioned I was meeting this man for the console. Adam was immediately concerned and pointed out I could not just meet a random stranger in a car park alone. I am also quite petite, so I agreed to let Adam come with me. The man texted me again, asking if we were still meeting and what I would be wearing. I thought he was asking so he could recognize me, so I told him what I would be wearing and what I looked like, and then I mentioned I would be with a stocky dark-haired man with a beard. He stopped replying. Then he deleted his account entirely. I never heard from him again. I cannot stop thinking about what he had planned, and how having Adam with me, or even just telling him Adam was coming, was enough to stop it completely. He deleted everything the moment he found out she would not be alone. Now, the next story comes from a pizza delivery driver, and it is one of the shortest in today's video. But it is the kind of short that sticks with you for a very long time. Never go inside. I used to deliver pizzas when I was in college. I delivered an order to a house one night, and the man who opened the door said, "Honey, the pizza is here," but the house was obviously completely empty. Nothing in it. No furniture, no rugs, nothing. Just floors and walls. It was a massive place, and silent. The man told me to come inside while he went to get his wallet. He asked me to stand in a very specific spot, and told me, "Don't move." Then he locked the front door, and walked to another room. He kept looking back at me. I waited for about 10 minutes, and nothing happened. I walked toward the corner the man had gone to, got close to a door, and heard him talking on the other side. He was talking about me, describing me, and he kept saying, "It'll be easy." That is when I ran. I found the back door, hopped the fence, and quit that job the same day. I never delivered anything again. Now, from a pizza delivery driver to someone who picked up a stranger in their car, thinking they were helping someone in danger. What followed was something they never could have predicted. This happened 10 minutes ago, in my car. I was just driving home from a morning shift and was about a kilometer from home when a man stepped into the road in front of me, waving his arms and shouting, "Stop, stop, please stop." I slammed on the brakes to avoid hitting him, and he ran to my window. I have had similar things happen before when people need help after an accident, and I assumed that was the case. I rolled down the window, and he said, "Please, please help me. I'm being attacked. Please get me out of here." And I, being the soft-hearted person that I am, said, "Sure, get in." My front passenger seat is basically my office, and was covered in stuff, so without thinking, I told him to get in the back. This turned out to be lucky. So this stranger was now in my back seat. I said, "Can I take you to a police station? What can I do?" And he said, "Yes, please." So I made a U-turn and headed to the nearest station, only about 6 kilometers away. I still thought at this point that the guy had been legitimately robbed or attacked, and I asked, "What's going on?" "There's people after me. There's one there, hiding in the bushes, and another one, up in that tree." There was obviously no one in either the bushes or the tree. I thought to myself, I have picked up a person in the middle of a psychotic episode. "Okay, well, let's get you to the police station and get you sorted," I said, trying to sound calm and reassuring. He seemed to respond to that, and said, "Thank you so much." Only 2 kilometers to go. I have never wanted to see a police car in my rearview mirror more in my entire life. We drove in silence for a minute. Then, suddenly he turned his head sideways, looked at me, and said in a very deep growl, "You're not taking me to a police station, are you?" "Yeah, of course I am. We're almost there. Just hang on," I said. "You're one of them. This was the plan, wasn't it? I'm getting chased and you just happened to show up at that exact second. Where are you taking me? Let me out. Let me out." And he started thrashing around in the back seat, pounding the cushions and flailing wildly. Just then we came around a curve, and there was the police station. "No, look, there it is. We're turning in right now." And we did. He calmed down immediately, said thank you, and ran inside as soon as I parked. I gave him a few minutes to tell his story, then went inside to give the desk officer some context. Literally happened 10 minutes before I posted this. The police station appeared at exactly the right second. Now, for a road in Australia, to a small town in Denmark in 2005, where a kindergarten teacher made a decision in a single moment that almost certainly saved a little girl's life. My kindergarten teacher prevented a child murder. I live in a small town in Denmark, with a population of roughly 3,000 people, where nothing ever really happens. And what I am about to describe scared the entire town deeply. Back in 2005, when I was still in kindergarten, a strange and agitated man, the father of one of the children, came and demanded that my teacher let him see his daughter and take her out of school. My teacher could see in the man's eyes that something was deeply wrong. He was extremely upset. She denied him access to his daughter, and after a very uncomfortable discussion, the father eventually gave up, walked to his car without looking back, and drove home. My teacher grew very worried and called the local police to go check on the family. Later that day, the news reported that the father had shot and killed his own wife, and then turned the gun on himself. At the time, my best friend lived next door to the family. He has since told me that he heard the mother screaming in a very horrible way, followed by 3 gunshots, a grown man crying his heart out, 10 seconds of silence, and then one final gunshot. I do not know what would have happened to that little girl, as my teacher had not stopped her father from taking her home that day. Wherever you are now, I hope you are okay. She read his eyes, and because of that, one child went home that night. Now, from a school in Denmark to a friend's bathroom, where a weekend visit turned into something far more disturbing than anyone expected. I think I found a hidden camera in my friend's bathroom. I am staying at my friend's house for the weekend while he is back from college. He currently lives with his family, his mom, dad, and younger sister. While I was using the bathroom, I looked to my right and noticed a black square adapter plugged into the wall, facing me directly. I looked closer and noticed a small black hole in the middle that looked like it could be a camera lens. It was connected to a cord leading to what looked like a white charging block. If it is a camera, it definitely caught me staring at it and taking photos, which made me nervous. I am female, and the idea that someone could be recording me and potentially posting it online genuinely frightened me. I do not think it is my friend's doing. He has not even been home very long. I think it is more likely his father's. He gives me strange vibes. And the house has mostly women coming and going when my friend is away at college, including his 15-year-old sister. Update the next day. I woke up to use the bathroom and passed by the parents' room. It looked like it had been frantically gone through. Cords all over the bed. I may be overthinking it, but it felt important to mention. Also, when I looked up the model number on the back of the adapter, the top search result confirmed it is a known hidden camera model. I took the adapter, the cord, and the charging block with me. Update later that day. I left. Guys, it is a camera. I peeled back a sticker on the back of the adapter, and there is a 32GB memory card inside. I told my friend, and he is completely distraught. He and his mother want to see what is on it, and take it to the police. Final update. Yes, we confirmed it is a camera and reviewed the footage. My friend's mother immediately contacted a lawyer, and they are taking everything to the authorities. The footage contained over 70 video files. A lot of it was just the candle burning, but it did capture people using the bathroom. My friend confronted his father, who claimed a coworker loaned it to him a year ago. That coworker apparently fled the country after a lawsuit payout, and has not been heard from since. I am still processing all of this. And I am thinking about that 15-year-old girl who lives in that house, 70 videos, and a 15-year-old who had no idea. The next story is lighter, and it even has a funny ending. But it is a good reminder that sometimes what feels dangerous is just a very large raccoon. Weird stuff I have noticed at my Airbnb. I am currently staying at an Airbnb with some family before I go back to my normal, boring life, and I've been noticing some things that do not feel right. First, there are no normal doors in the house. Only barn-style sliding doors with their bottom stoppers removed, which makes it incredibly easy to simply push them off their hinges. Second, there are small holes in different areas of the house that make it easy to see into other rooms without being seen. But what was the final straw for me was that last night I started hearing movement in the attic. I have no way to check, because I do not have a ladder that can reach the entrance. Update: as I was writing this, I just heard tapping on my ceiling. I will update in the morning if I have not been murdered by a serial killer. Wish me luck. Also, I should mention I am not as panicked as I might otherwise be, because I have a 180-pound dog who would protect me and my family without hesitation. And yes, she is awesome. Morning update. Pretty good ending to this one. I messaged the owner and he came over to look at everything. He explained that a previous renter had drilled the peepholes and he had not had a chance to fix them. As for the noises in the attic, he grabbed a ladder so I could look around up there. I found a very large, very fat raccoon. A raccoon. After all that tension, a raccoon. Okay, now for our final story, and I want you to stay with this one all the way to the end, because the moment when everything becomes clear is one of the most chilling things in today's entire video. Sixth sense kicked in with a customer. In my early 20s, I landed a receptionist job in a sales office at a manufactured housing community. I was so excited. It was my first office job after working in childcare and the food industry. I greeted potential buyers, set up appointments, and showed the available home models. I worked with one other person in the office, a salesman. When he was out, I would take potential buyers through the homes myself. I was working alone one day when a customer came in looking to potentially purchase his first home. I gathered some information from the young man and asked if he would like to look at some of the homes. As we walked down the sidewalk toward the row of available models, we chatted about floor plans and finishes. He was friendly and reminded me of someone who had played football at my high school. I decided to show him the two models that best fit his needs. Since I had shared most of the technical information during the first home tour, I gave him some space to look around the second one freely. He walked through the main living area and stopped in the doorway to one of the back bedrooms. He called out, "Hey, what is this back here?" and pointed to a corner of the room I could not see from where I was standing. I knew these floor plans by heart, so I politely answered that it was a closet. He chuckled and asked again, "No, really, come here, what is this back here?" I could tell by his tone that he was pushing me to come see for myself. He motioned for me to come closer. His tone was friendly, but the request did not make sense. And in that split second, something shifted. The hairs on my neck stood up. Something about the way his eyes changed before me. I suddenly felt that the power dynamic between us had shifted. I did not feel safe. With all the lightness I could manage, I said, "Oh, it's a closet. Excuse me for a moment, I need to check on something outside." And I walked out of the house and back to the sidewalk. I had no concrete reason for feeling what I felt. I just knew I needed to leave. Immediately. Over the next few days, the young man came back to the office to meet with the salesman and fill out paperwork to purchase one of the homes. He dropped by several more times unannounced. If I was not there, he would ask the salesman when I worked next. My coworker thought I had a not-so-secret admirer. I could not shake the feeling that something was wrong. On the nights I worked alone, I started locking the office door. A few days later, corporate sent back their analysis of his application and completed background check. He had been denied. The background check revealed multiple sexual assault convictions. The salesman called him immediately to let him know his application had been denied. A few days after that, the young man came back to the office one final time. When my coworker saw his vehicle pull into the parking lot, he told me to go to the back room and stay out of sight. And just like the times before, the young man walked in and asked if I was working. This time he was met by a very angry 6-foot salesman who had nothing to lose. I had never heard my coworker raise his voice before, but that day it shook the office walls. The young man never came back. Her body knew before the background check confirmed it. 11 stories, 11 moments where someone listened to something they could not fully explain, and it made all the difference. Your instincts are not anxiety. They are not paranoia. They are information. And the people in every story today are alive because they chose to listen. If these stories stayed with you, hit the like button right now. It helps this channel reach more people who need to hear them. And if you want more real stories every single week, subscribe and ring the bell.